All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. I am Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon and The Blackest Heart, both books published by Simon & Schuster's Saga Press. Today I'm going to be reviewing City on Fire by Don Winslow. This is his newest book, just came out this week, or maybe last week. Anyway, I just read it. We're going to review it. As you can see, I'm a huge Don Winslow fan. I've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of his books. And they're all super dope. Super dope. Especially this Power of the Dog trilogy about the Mexican cartels. Holy shit. You should watch my review of Power of the Dog. Probably one of my best book reviews I've ever done. Anyway. What is City on Fire about? Well, it's about Rhode Island. I was pleasantly surprised because I've lived in Rhode Island. In fact, not only have I lived in Rhode Island, I lived in Rhode Island at the exact same time this book takes place. So I was doubly surprised and absolutely overjoyed because we start right out in familiar territory for me. So I couldn't have been happier. Before we get to the book, though, let's talk about the cover, because I really love this cover. This has just got this is about as simple a cover as you can get. But I love the dude standing there, and I love the gold foil lettering on this matte black. It stands out. I just love it. It's so simple yet elegant. And you can't go wrong with that. And it's bold, too. Anyway, we start out in Rhode Island in 1986. So that will give you a little bit of a idea of when I lived in Rhode Island. Because I already said this took place I was in Rhode Island in the late 80s. So we start out with some gangsters. It's an Irish gangster named Danny. Now, Danny is hanging out on the beach. It's a place called Goshen Beach. Now, here's the thing. I've lived in Rhode Island. Typically, when I read books, and you know this if you followed my channel, whenever I read thrillers or mysteries or anything set in our real world, I will oftentimes Google the place, especially if it's a place I've never heard of, like in Russia or Bulgaria or South Africa. If it's somewhere I've never heard of, I'll Google it so I know that the author's talking about a real place and I can kind of get a sense and a feel for where I'm at. I've been to Rhode Island. I'd never remembered any beach called Goshen Beach. So I was like, well, maybe I'm just mistaken. So I Google Goshen Beach. There's no Goshen Beach. So it's a made-up place, which is odd. We're going to get to that. And then he talked about a place called Mashannock, Rhode Island. And I was like, I don't remember a Mashannock, Rhode Island either, but I do remember a Matanook. Well, it turns out that for whatever reason, he opened his books in these two fictional areas of Goshen Beach bordering Matanook, Rhode Island, which I assume is representative of Galilee Beach and Matanook. So yeah, Goshen Beach and Mashannock, Rhode Island were the made-up places, and I assume that they were representative of Galilee Beach and Matanook, but I'm not sure because we're dwelling on something that's not really that important because when he gets to Providence, which I've lived in Providence. I lived in Narragansett, Rhode Island also, which is southern Rhode Island. So I'm familiar with the whole state. The whole state is the size of maybe a quarter. Maybe not quite half a dollar bill. I mean, it's a small state. So, I mean, you stand in the middle of the state and you are pretty much the only person in that state. Anyway, that's a little hyperbole. But anyway, where was I at? Oh, so we get to Providence and we start talking about the Italian mobsters that sort of run Federal Hill. I know Federal Hill, and I actually did know that the Italian mobsters, that's where they were. The Irish mobsters run Dogtown down by the docks. I didn't know that, so I learned something. Now, we actually, aside from the opening where he uses strangely fake towns and fake beaches, every place else he mentions in Rhode Island actually exists. So I was a little, I don't know if I was bothered or just maybe like curious as to why. But anyway, Federal Hill and Dogtown, which is where most of our action takes place anyway. Those places actually exist. I've been there. I've driven through both of those neighborhoods. I know what they both look like. I did not know that Dogtown was Irish mob territory. I did know that the Federal Heights or Federal Hills was the Italians. Anyway, let's get back to the fake beach. Goshen Beach, the fake beach, where this place starts. So Danny, he's there. Danny Ryan, he's there. He's on the beach with his wife, and he watches this beautiful girl walk out of the beach, and it changes his life. And this beautiful girl is named Pam, and she's trouble. She is trouble from the get-go. You just know it. She's also the girlfriend of one of the Italian mobsters, Paulie Moretti, a real gangsta type dude. So anyway, you can see where one plot point's gonna go. And then anyway, it's just the girls, the mobsters and the girls. They fight over that more than they fight over their territories. I mean, well, I guess that, well, you know what I'm saying. So, all of these mobsters, this is 86. Again, this is 86. One of the themes that runs through this book is these mobsters' fear of being labeled a homosexual, because they're always just sort of afraid of, they're like very homophobic about, don't call me gay, don't call me gay, don't think I'm gay. It's over and over and over in this book. There happens to be a couple of the mobsters that actually may or may not be. So anyway, Rhode Island is a small, Providence is a blip on the map in mobster world. This is why I loved this book so much, is because we got to see mobsters at work in Providence, Rhode Island, which is a place where we normally don't get to see the mobsters at. You know, the mobster movies are about LA, Las Vegas, maybe Miami, for sure New York and New Jersey, and sometimes Boston, but very rarely do they venture into Rhode Island. I remember in The Sopranos, they took a trip up to Rhode Island to whack a dude. So I knew that, you know, I mean, and when I lived in Rhode Island, I knew that Federal Hills was kind of the Italian area, just kind of, you know, go to the restaurants, but don't do much else. So the fact that these mobsters are working out of Providence gives them a real inferiority complex, because they're just like, well, we ain't the New York guys. We ain't the Boston guys. We're the Providence guys. You know, and like I said, I've been to Providence, and it is sort of the bastard child of all the New England towns. It's kind of like the armpit universe of New England. I mean, I'm not trying to be a douchebag. I mean, I lived on Elm Grove Avenue in Providence. I know that's by Brown University, by the way, which is a better part of town. But most of the town is kind of grungy and grotesque. I ain't trying to knock on, I mean, there's parts of Salt Lake City that are grungy and grotesque. Not as many as Providence, but there are some. And these guys feel it. They feel it. They don't want to be called homosexuals. They don't want anybody to disparage the fact that they're gangsters in Providence when there's bigger and bolder and badder and ever gangsters elsewhere. It's just kind of a cool story. It's got a lot of gangster action. Not only do they involve the Irish and the Italian, but we also get wrapped up in some of the black gangs where they bring those guys into their fold. It's just an overall great mobster book, like The Godfather. I mean, I don't know how many mobster books I have in my collection. Not many. Maybe a handful. Maybe not even a handful. I got Nelson DeMille, The Gold Coast. I've got The Godfather. I've got this. That's 3. I don't know if there's any others. But anyway, this is just a great mobster book. It reads exactly like you want a mobster book to read. And the best thing about it is all these characters. So, I'm going to back up a little bit. It starts with us just getting to know all the characters. Once about how you hit the halfway point, the action just snowballs and snowballs and snowballs and snowballs. And all the characters that we've met, which there are many, start to intermingle and their dramas start to commingle and things bad start to happen. And then we get all the mobster juiciness we love. The best thing about the story is it's book one in a trilogy, and I'm super stoked to see where these Providence, Rhode Island mobsters go from here, because this book was seriously good. Seriously good. Would I say that it's as good as the Cartel trilogy? Probably not, because this Cartel trilogy is unlike anything ever written on the planet. But it certainly rates a 9.5 out of 10. It's a strong, strong, strong entry into the Don Winslow collection. Thank you very much.